Order. We can start with a prayer. Dear God, today as this session opens,
We pray for
we
direction.
pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction, which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America.
and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Council Mercier.
Here.
Council Milonazo.
Here.
Council Rourke.
Here.
Council Samaras.
Here.
Council Belanger.
Here.
Council Elliott.
Here.
Mayor Kennedy.
Here.
Council Leahy.
Here.
Council Leary.
Here.
It's 9 present.
Okay, the first order of business is acceptance of the minutes of the Public Safety Subcommittee of March 22nd and the City Council meeting for March 22nd for acceptance.
So
We have a
moved.
motion to accept the minutes and place them on file by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Leary. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next order of business is a vote to cancel the council meeting for April 19th, 2016. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading, and the second reading is to cancel the council meeting on April 19th, 2016. Do we have a motion to approve? We have a motion to approve by Councilor Samaras, seconded by Councilor Rourke. Discussion on the motion, Councilor Mercia.
What is the reason for the cancellation?
School vacation week. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Council Mercier.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Leary.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next, we have communications from the city manager. We have motion responses A through I, and we'll begin with A, which is the Sweeney Veteran Memorial. Any discussion on item A? Hearing none, we'll move on to item B, which is speeding on Pawtucket Boulevard. Any discussion on B? Hearing none, we'll move on to item C, the ICSC conference. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, we'll move on to item D, the Water Department building on Hampshire Street. Council Leahy.
Thank you. I just had a couple of questions. So the property was valued at about 200,000, but it's about 200,000 to knock the building down too?
Yes.
Okay. And mainly because, are we allowed to go in the building, or it's unsafe to go in so we don't know what's in there?
Correct. Plus, the only real use for the building would be housing, which the neighborhoods have summarily rejected in the past. So it just makes sense that if there isn't housing, then to make it more of a park area and have Mill City Grows expand the park that they're going to be putting in there, the community garden that they're going to be putting in that week, and then make a nice park area also, so that that's more acceptable to the neighbors in that area, because it is quite congested area.
Okay, so that's much better, thank you. So do we know, like, we're definitely gonna look into knocking it down?
Yes,
So we're gonna have bids out there and
Yes.
hopefully it doesn't come out as high as we think it will?
correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, we've been looking at this property now for a number of years. We've heard from the neighborhood groups that it's been dilapidated. We've got nothing but negative feedback on this property as it stands. And I'd say we adhere to the wishes of the neighborhood and the neighborhood organization that, we make it green space. I think it'd be beautiful to expand Eagle Park. I think it'd be a great asset to the neighborhood, so I would, through you, Mr. Mayor, to the manager, I would like you to investigate raising this, and as Council Leahy alluded to, is, making this green space, raising it, and having enjoyment for the whole neighborhood. I think that'd be the best use, so, thank you.
Any further discussion? Council Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did read in the report, Mr. Manager, that the DPD staff's going to be at the next CNAG meeting to discuss this?
Yes, we'll make sure that they are to go over this and make the presentation as to what we're going to do.
Great, good idea, thank you.
Excellent.
Any further discussion on item D? If not, could I just, you see the two signs with the photographs? Could you just lower them a little bit? Because there's a television camera in back, and so they can't see. No, lower it. Okay, thank you. Item E is the future use of the MAC building. Do we have any discussion on item E? If not, Councilor Samaras, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. Mr. Manager, thank you for this report. You know, actually, when it, you know, the DCR has that building, and they said they occupy all 4 floors. But truthfully, walking by, you'd never know that. And I did not realize that the Streetcar Museum, which started with a lot of fanfare, was open during weekends. And I'm pleased to note that they plan on fixing up the Victoria Gardens that are around there. Enterprise Bank has done so much in that area, as has done Mr. Gallagher with his law firm. So if you could follow this through, I'd appreciate that, because I think that street has great potential. It leads right to the National Park office, and I think by having them fix the gardens, the lighting, because at nighttime, it's so dark in that area. So I'm pleased. I mean, if we're going to talk about economic development, if we're going to talk about making us a better city, a touring city, the state has to maintain their part too. So thank you for this report.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion on item E? If not, moving on to item F is the feasibility of a crosswalk on Stevens Street. Councilor Leary.
Just quickly, first of all, thanks to the administration for getting the response so quickly. Thank you for having it added for the summer work. It's going to be important. Obviously, a lot of folks cross over that street frequently, and there's not a lot of crosswalks. And there's one up right at Parker Street, one down by the fire station, then one down by the 99. So this will be a significant improvement in having access across Stevens Street. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on item F? If not, we'll move on to item G, which is the paving of Melrose and Shirley Avenues. Any discussion on that? Councilor Leahy?
Thank you. Through you to the manager. Is anybody here from engineering, if we had a question?
She's making her way to the rostrum right now.
Thank you.
Made it.
I didn't want you to feel left out.
Okay.
So I read your report. The Malden Street that runs across, do you think that has anything to do with the drainage? Like, it seems higher than the other 2 streets. So when we repave Melrose and Shirley Ave, will those be a little higher too?
No.
And help? No?
The, when we have to go to Concom for these because they're in the floodplain, and one of the requirements that I know Concom is going to give us is that the final elevation has to be exactly the same as the current elevation. So we can't raise anything up.
Okay. Are there drains there, though? I would think that's part of the problem, that the water sits there for longer than...
There are no drains because the water table is so high. If you put a drain in, it's just going to be full of groundwater.
Okay.
Yes, one of the problems is that the water table there is so high. Yeah.
All right. Is it against conservation rules or something to have the rainwater drain into that swamp area or the wetlands?
That would mean installing a series of pipes and catch basins, and I'm not even sure if that's going to solve the problem.
No, all right. I would think that would be a lot of money too, but it just seems like when the roads were paved, they all should have leveled down to the wetlands, so the water would run off into that
They will
wetlands
be
area.
pitched from the center of the road to the side of the road,
Okay,
but not necessarily from that road over to the wetlands.
okay. Do we create, like, how do the neighbors feel about that? Are we creating a pond every time it rains? They get you know what I mean? Because the drainage doesn't go anywhere?
It's flat there now.
Yeah. Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Manager.
Thank you. When this motion came up last week, Councilor Mercy had a question about the status of the acceptance of streets. And I just wanted, Lisa, if you could just explain what's happening with the acceptance of streets in the city?
We've talked before about the number of steps that are involved in accepting streets, finding out what's out there for the utilities in the streets, the property bounds, how the city is set, the street is set up right now. We've been going through a list of streets that we have that we know are unaccepted, and if it's, for example, a subdivision that has never been accepted and the developer has created plans, those are the easy ones, and we've been working on a lot of the easy ones. We're just about done with the easy ones, so from here on in, it's going to take a little bit longer. But I know that last week you had said something about it's taken a little longer this year.
Yes.
You're correct. Now, we had forecasted 6. We have 7 in the pipeline, so in the next couple of weeks, you should be getting 3 more, so we'll be ahead.
Yep.
But the reason we've been behind is the gentleman who does most of the work has been out undergoing cancer treatments. The good news is he's back and cancer-free and working on accepted streets,
Good.
so.
That's good. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Good news on all fronts.
All around,
Yeah.
yes. Thank you, Lisa.
Any further discussion on that? If not, moving on to item H, the crosswalk on Chelmsford Street. Council Leary.
Again, thank you for the administration for the quick report. Pretty comprehensive, talking about rehabbing that, not rehabbing, but doing sidewalks and looking at Inland Street. And I appreciate the correspondence regarding, reaching out to the neighbors. Do you have like a time frame when that'll begin in terms of Inland Street, or is that something that we're still designing that?
We haven't started anything on that yet. But one of the first things that we'll do, we'll come up with a couple of different concepts that we think would work, and then set up a meeting with the residents. We know in a couple of other streets that we've worked on, anytime you take down trees, it causes a big problem. So do we need to take trees? Do we not need to take trees? We have ideas where they should come down, ideas where we could keep them, but we don't know what the residents are going to want. So until we can't have final plans until we've had at least one meeting with the residents. It probably would be a series of meetings.
No, and I appreciate that. I think that's definitely something that'll take place. I mean, I can remember at Sales Street that what happened there. That wasn't anything we want to see again. I think you obviously lived there too. So, but I think it's important. I think there was a crosswalk here back in the bus. There was a bus stop there at one point in time, if our memory serves. But it was definitely a yellow blinking light making that cross from the Lowell housing right over into Midland Inland Street area, which I think is important because you have a lot of school kids are going into the Washington school area. You have a lot of people just utilizing just that space moving back and forth. So I think it's I know it's expensive, but I think it's definitely worth the effort, and thank you for the quick turnaround.
Any further discussion on this item? If not, the last item under the communications to the city manager is the FY17 budget. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. Through you is that what we've done is we've just presented a memo, an informational memo relative to the fiscal year 17 budget, the timeline. We plan on presenting the budget to the City Council on May 17th. And we also have just given you a summary of what our challenges are, but also I think we're saying that we have the ability to meet those challenges and to make sure that we have a balanced budget on May 17th, but one that addresses the priorities of this council and this administration, and that's our continuing commitment to education, public safety, and economic development. So we look forward to finishing up our budget deliberations with the different department heads, and then presenting that budget to you on May 17th.
Any discussion on item I? Council Milonazo.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor, to the city manager. Again, a very comprehensive report as we approach the budget season. Do you have any idea when conference committee at the state level, I know we're looking at House 1 numbers in this memo, but do you have any idea from a timing standpoint?
It probably wouldn't be until probably mid or late May.
Okay.
So it's probably going to be after
Okay.
the budget is presented, but we have contingencies based upon the final report.
And again, an interesting statistic to be shared with the viewing audience is that 37% of our revenue comes from the tax levy, with a median across the Commonwealth of 66%. So, again, congratulations to the administration, because you're obviously finding money in order to keep the services where they're at. And Connor Baldwin, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Manager.
No, really, I have to thank the financial team of Connor Baldwin, Rodney Conley, and Bob Healy. They're the ones who do the work, and believe me, I didn't draft this memo. That was drafted by Connor Baldwin, and he deserves all the credit for it. So congratulations.
Any further discussion on the FY17 budget? Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too want to thank the manager and the financial team for this memo, a little prep, if you will, for the upcoming budget. But, Mr. Mayor, through you to Connor Baldwin, now you're presenting a $16 million gap, but this memo here doesn't equate to all that, Connor. So where are we? Are those budget requests not listed, or?
Go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the $16 million number that's listed in the memo is all-inclusive, including the fixed costs as well as the departmental requests. So the items that are listed under the $16 million number are a few of the highlights or the big-ticket items like electricity, pension, et cetera. And the balance between those would be the departmental requests. But $16 million was the number we had to start from, and we'll whittle that down to zero as we get through our budget process.
Okay, thank you. And on another thing, on the cherry sheet, you know, something that's alarming and, you know, and very concerning, to say the least, is the charter school sending tuition where, you know, FY15 was $16 million, FY17, it's going to be over 20. So if this keeps up, I mean, we're going to have a horrible problem on our hands. What is being done about reimbursement for charter schools? It continues to be a problem.
Mr. Manager.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, and it's been a problem because in past years we haven't been fully funded for the charter school reimbursement. The governor's budget does address that issue, and hopefully that figure remains the same in the House and the Senate versions, and then we will at least get some relief for the charter school sending tuition through the reimbursement process. But you're 100% correct. In past years, municipalities weren't fully reimbursed for their charter school costs.
Yeah, that is correct. Okay. Well, we will be hopeful for some good news, Mr. Manager. Thanks again, Mr. Mayor.
Council Leary.
Just quickly, I know we talked offline a little bit about the school department. Do we have an idea when we think their numbers will be in? And are they projecting a deficit, or what are they really looking at this year?
Mr. Manager.
Thank you. Through you, first of all, in that package is a letter that we sent to the superintendent of schools 2 weeks ago, giving them the number that we were going to be proposing for them. My finance team met with the school department today to go over the figure. They expect that there's going to be a deficit. They wouldn't tell us exactly what their deficit was going to be, but they are going to have to take some real action to close that deficit because, you know, our figure is carved in granite. We didn't just pull it out of the air. We went through great deliberations to determine, and this figure that we gave to the school department is $1 million more than we gave them last year. We could level fund the school system this year and still meet our net school spending requirement mandated by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, but we didn't do that. We increased their budget by $1 million. So this is a very generous offer that we have given to the school department. And quite honestly, they should learn to live within their budget just like we have to live within our budget. And that's the position we've taken relative to this figure.
No, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I did read the letter. It's, I think your administration has put a lot of effort into really increasing the actual cash contribution, not just net school spending, getting better with the accounting. But one area I think we need to reach out to help them is really the busing costs. We're talking about, Councilor Belanger was discussing the increase on the charter schools. We need to really have them spend some of the money for the busing, because that busing cost actually comes out of our budget, the city budget, as it were. So some of those areas, if we could reach out to them and find ways of having them contribute to that, I think that will help if there's any deficit on the school side. I definitely know that your administration could be proactive in that. I know you have been proactive in that. And just last question, really, have we heard anything from the federal government regarding any increases for the newcomers coming in? Any feedback in terms of any, the title monies coming in from them? I know we had motions and we had a lot of meetings, but just kind of, is there any sense that it's reality coming in, or any money coming in, or not?
Mr. Manager.
We have not heard from any of the federal representatives relative to any increased money, but we can reach out to Congresswoman Tsongas' office and see if there's anything in the future relative to that issue.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion? If not, the chair will entertain a motion to accept and file all of the communications of the manager. We have a motion to that effect by Counselor Rourke, seconded by Counselor Samaras. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Moving on to communications, we have one request from the city manager requesting out-of-state travel for one Lowell Police Department and one Division of Planning and Development employee.
Move approval.
We have a motion approved by Counselor Mercia, seconded by Counselor Rourke. Discussion, roll call.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Leary.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next, we have a vote from the city manager, a vote to declare surplus 799 Gorham Street with a minimum bid of $156,000. We'll waive the full first reading by general consent. If there's no objection, go to the second reading, which is declaring surplus property located at 799 Gorham Street in Lowell, Mass., and authorizing the city manager to seek proposals under the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30B, for the disposition of said parcel, namely 799 Gorham Street in Lowell. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion approved by Council Rourke, seconded by Council Samaras. Discussion on the motion, Council Leahy.
Sure. Through you to the manager. This parcel, again, just so everybody at home, where is it exactly? Is it on the fire side or the other side? The firehouse side?
If you could bear with me 1 second.
Sure.
You're looking at the firehouse, it's right on the left.
Okay, it's where they kind of use it for a driveway now or parking?
They've been using it for parking, there's a lot of overshoot parking that people use it for, but
Okay.
it's right there.
But you'll see the next vote on the agenda is to provide reserved parking for them on the street.
Okay.
So we're reserving parking for them in place of where they park now, and they're satisfied with this proposal.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion? If not, roll call.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Leary.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next is an order from the city manager for a 60-day trial at various locations. There's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading by general consent, and the second reading is pursuant to Chapter 266 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, concerning Section 266-6 thereof, entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations. Temporary traffic regulations are hereby implemented for a period of 60 days. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion approved by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Leahy. Discussion on the motion. Roll call.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Leary.
Yes.
That's 9 yeas.
Next item of business is subcommittee reports. We have a report from the Flood Subcommittee for the meeting held on March 29, 2016, earlier today. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you very much, everyone. Please bear with me. This is the Flood Committee report. I will try to be as brief as possible, although it was a very long and hectic meeting. The Flood Subcommittee met this afternoon at 1 o'clock in the City Council chamber. Attending was committee member Councilor Danny Rourke, Mayor Edward Kennedy, City Councilor Bill Samaras, City Manager Kevin Murphy, Assistant City Manager Michael McGovern, City Solicitor Christine O'Connor, the City Engineer Lisa DeMayo, Planning Development Director Eric Slagle, members of the PCC, Pawtucketville Citizens Group, Chairwoman Deb Forgione, Co-Chair John Hamblett, Bob Gagnon, John Nappy, and this meeting was televised. The issue of flooding in Pawtucketville is a common happening, so in the interest of the residents, Mayor Edward Kennedy made a motion some time ago seeking an independent backwater study at Clay Pit Brook. The City Council supported and we paid for this study. As a result, City Councilor Elliott requested that a motion to have the proper department file comments regarding results from the Clay Pit backwater study with FERC. This motion was referred to the Flood Subcommittee, of which I chair, and we met today. So this afternoon, we met with Peter Richardson, Vice President, and Shaheen, Senior Project Manager of Green International Affiliate, Inc., civil and structural engineers. There were two gentlemen that work for the independent company. And since time is of the essence, and we learned of an April 11 deadline for which public partnership before FERC will happen, I held this meeting as soon as possible before April 11th. The engineer, Mr. Richardson, said that the request for proposal went out in 2014, and they submitted a proposal, and they got accepted to do the independent study, but the project got delayed because of the snow. So it started in April of 2015, a draft was presented in June, and the final report was done in August of 2015. And it was presented in December 2015 to the PCC neighborhood group. But because of all the engineering terms such as backwater, datum, reverse flow, surcharge conditions, people left the meeting confused and unclear as to what was happening. So because there was so much misunderstanding and miscommunication using engineering terms that added to the confusion, this was a good reason to open discussion up again. So the talk this afternoon went back and forth. Both sides made their points eloquently, though never seeming to be in agreement over the height of the flood level figure. And the magical question was, at what height does the river have to be for the flooding to begin? And Engineer Richardson said that the flooding begins to start at 92.4 feet, but PCC feels that it's 89 feet. Mr. Richardson, the engineer, said that at 89 feet is when the culverts start to fill and they start coming back through pipes at 94 feet when culverts would be submerged, and 95 feet would reach Malden Avenue. He stated that this study and those figures is in agreement with FERC, and FERC was telling us all along what was actually true. I wanted to ask these two engineers this particular question. Do you support the bladder dam concept over the present flashboard system? But the engineer asked and answered this very question himself and said that the bladder dam system would work better for the Pawtucketville residents. He also said, and it is in the writing, that there is nothing in our study that refutes what Enel reports had said about the flooding in Clay Pit Brook, and submitting our report as new information would actually support their case, not ours. The deadline for April 11th was for public comments and participation. The comment period is only about historic mediation issues and not flooding issues. I'm almost there. Bear with me 1 more minute. We made a motion to at least have the city manager state that if the culverts are 89 feet and the river is at 93 feet, Clay Pit Brook does not drain out to the river. And please amend Enel's license to lower the flashboards when the water level reach is 48 feet and not 50. The first is just the PCC's group informing of the belief, and the second part of this request, which was a motion, is to ask the manager to write a proper letter with these two issues in place so that all we can do is try. So with that, I know that there's another question that the mayor had asked the engineer, and he didn't have the answer, but he said he'd get back to us. I said, will you get back to us in time to have the answer for the city council? And he said he couldn't, but he would give the answer to Lisa DeMayo, our city engineer. So
Excuse me, I did receive an email this afternoon from the gentleman at Green International. They had presented a plan earlier this afternoon that showed what the water level in Clay Pit Brook would look like at the elevation of 92.4, which is the top of the flashboards. So with the flashboards up, the water in the brook will not overrun the banks. So there is no flooding if flooding is defined as overturning the banks. So the question was asked, what would be the elevation if as soon as the first house gets water in it? And what they responded is that elevation would be at 96.0, and the two houses that would be affected would be 29 Stockbridge and 97 Townsend. Those are the two lowest houses as shown on the plans.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That sums up my report. If if Danny has anything to add to that, I think I covered it all.
Extremely well done recap,
Thank you,
Councilor.
Dennis.
you.
Thank you for the very comprehensive
Thank you.
report. Councilor Mercia, was there a motion that you were going to make?
Yes, the motion was to have the city manager inform FERC that the culvert's at 89 feet and the river is at 93 feet. Clay Pit Brook does not drain out to the river. And they wanted that information to be written to FERC. And the second part of that was to ask FERC if they could amend the license for Enel so that instead of the water level being at 50 feet, they lower it at 48 feet. So those were the two issues. I don't know if that'll ever make any headway, but the least we could do is try, and that's all we're doing.
So everybody heard the motion, so it's not
Second.
necessary for the chair to repeat it. We have a second on the motion by
Second.
Councilor Rourke. Discussion on the motion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Can we have a motion to accept the report and, as a report of progress, place it on file? We have a motion to that. Extended by Councilor Belanger, seconded by Councilor Leahy. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Did you have something to say?
Yeah, I have informational, Mr. Mayor. The Youth Services Subcommittee will be taking our act on the road. We have a Youth Services Subcommittee next Wednesday, April 6th, at UTEC on Hurd Street, and that is from 5:30 to 7:30. Next Wednesday, April 6th, and on the agenda is summer programs and summer jobs for our youth in the city. So hope to see everybody there. Thank you very much.
Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. I had a question on the flood, through you to the engineer. When is the bladder dam supposed to be installed? Is that like set in stone or?
I haven't seen an updated schedule. I do know that they had some delays because they were making some adjustments to their cofferdam design, but I haven't seen an updated schedule.
Okay, but within a year or 2 years or
I would say less than 2 years.
less than 2 years? Okay, and with you and the chair, was there any complaints about flooding now? Because the way they do that, the flash boards, it's not really flash boards, it's a flash wall, the way they construct it. So have we had any problems with flooding or issues from the residents up there?
That wasn't mentioned during this meeting.
No? Okay. When did they get permission, like, to build the wall the way they've been building it? It used to be flash boards so they fall apart. Now they're layered in such a way and screwed together that
Meaning
it doesn't
the
fall apart
planks
anymore.
versus the plywood that they put out there?
Yeah, that wall doesn't fall apart and it doesn't fall over anymore, the way it's supposed
That's
to.
been part of their procedures for as long as I've been here.
Well, I'd have to disagree, because the wall used to fall apart. Now it doesn't fall apart.
I've been here 9 years, and for the 9 years that I've been here, it's been plywood.
Right, but not screwed together the way they screw it together.
I don't know.
Is that illegal, though, against the contract that they have, would you think?
We don't get to see all those details of what between FERC and Enel.
Okay. All right. Just one more question through you to the chair, Councilor Mercia. Did anybody bring up anything about any concerns about the way they build that wall now with the flash boards?
No, they never said
No?
anything. That wasn't discussed.
All right.
More or less the flooding at Clay Pit Brook.
Yeah.
That's more or less
Okay.
it. But he did answer that question about which would be better, what we have now there at the dam or the bladder dam. And he answered his own question that I was going to ask because I thought it was important as the perspective from an engineer. And he said the bladder dam would be better for the
I think the
residents.
bladder dam would be better as long as they follow
Well, he said it would be
rules and
more-
they lower it when it's
Yeah.
sure. Okay,
I hear
thank
you.
you, Your Honor.
Okay. Anything else? The motion on the floor is to accept the report as a report of progress. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next, we come to petitions. The first one is a property claim. Chair would entertain a motion to refer to the Law Department for report and recommendation. We have a report to that effect from Councilor Milonazo, seconded by Councilor Rourke. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next, under miscellaneous, we have a request from Ahmed Mohammed to request the installation of a handicap parking sign at 110 Chapel Street. Chair would entertain a motion to refer to the traffic engineer for report and recommendation. We have a report to do that from Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Leahy. Councilor Mercia.
I would amend it to be a 60-day trial.
All right, if there's no objection by general consent, we'll take the amendment for a 60-day trial. Any further discussion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next, we have a request from Daniel Prue Jr., request that the city council abandon Rural and Montreal streets. Chair will entertain a motion to refer to the law department for report and recommendation. We have a motion to that effect from Councilor Rourke, second by Councilor Leary. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next item before us under miscellaneous is a request from Champagne to request permission to discuss the visit of Hun Manette to the city of Lowell. And we have 23 speakers registered to speak. So could the first speaker come to the microphone and state, oh, go ahead.
Kemal K.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, member of council, city manager, and all community members that are here tonight. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to come before you in order to strongly urge all the city officials for the following. Number one, not to have an official reception of Lieutenant General Hun Manet in our city hall. He is the eldest son of the Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Sen, a proto-dictator. This is the hall in which laid the foundation for free thinkers who have been debating in the fabric of life, liberty, equality, and inalienable freedom of its people. This hall must forever not to be tainted by the oppressors who have conquered the subjects at their will. Number two, not to accept the statue of Jayavarman VII as a gift to the city. This gift has been dubbed as a symbol of strength and unity of the Cambodian culture. Let me be clear, there's no strength and unity in our culture in the motherland. This gift is a curtain that Hun Sen regime uses to cover up the atrocities of its subject, and I want to emphasize the word subjects. Many recorded human rights violations, meddling of the judicial system by using political power to dictate the outcome of court cases, violated Paris Peace Accords that were signed with 18 international signatories in 1991, including the United States, which explicitly stated to promote and encourage respect for and observance of human rights and fundamental freedoms in Cambodia. This despotism, nepotism, arbitrarily jailing of political and student activists, and unlawful evictions of homeowners in order to give the lands to developers. These are some of the evidences that Hun Sen regime have been maliciously done to its subjects. By giving the gift of the great king to the city of Lowell, Hun Manet is using this symbol as a gesture of unity. However, they are looking to manipulate and amplify their good deeds in order to soften the eyes of the world. How can they ask for unity for the Cambodians that are living abroad when he and his father have performed so many repressive acts? This kleptocratic regime must be stopped. Three, today, Cambodians, including forefathers of this great nation, must unite for the liberation of the oppressed and united for the common interest to once again to fight for freedom from tyranny, oppressions, and persecutions. For all refugees from near and afar, we have struggled to learn new language, struggled to gain our social economic status, educational advancement, worked hard in order to provide the sanctity of life, liberty, equality, fraternity, and inalienable rights to those that would not grant us the very same freedom that they have enjoyed. We, the Cambodian community, helped build this city without the help from the despotic Hun Sen regime. It has always been the United States of America that opened its arms to us, the refuge that others could not enjoy. It is the inalienable rights that dictate in the constitutions which provide the very fabric of our freedom. Before the conclusion of this statement, I want to offer the creed which I have lived by since my inception to my alma mater, Norwich University, as I quote, "I believe that the cardinal virtues of the individual are courage, honesty, temperance, and wisdom, and that the true measure of success is service rendered to God, to country, and to mankind. I believe that the fundamental freedom of society is to maintain a free government where liberty may be secured through obedience to law, and that a citizen's soldiery is a cornerstone upon which a government must rest." And within her halls, through the years, these tenets have found expression, while men have been taught to be loyal, duly constitute authority in thought, word, and deed, to view suffrage as a sacred privilege, to be exercised by the accordance of dictates of the conscience, to regard public office as a public trust, and to finally to fight, if need to die, in defense of cherished in the institutions of America. I have been holding this creed. It has been dictated my conscience to fight for the oppressed. Therefore, we the people of Lo are strongly urging our city officials to not have an official reception of Honmanat, nor accepting the gift, and to issue a grave condemnation to the current ruling regime of this tyranny by maliciously oppressing its subject and deprive them of life, liberty, fraternity, equality, inalienable rights, and the pursuit of happiness. Last, we stand united to ask councilors to join us by sending a clear message tonight to Lieutenant General Hermanad that these great halls will not welcome him. Thank you. Thank you all for the great citizens of Lo to stand against tyranny and oppressors of its subjects. Thank you.
Thank you.
Saroon Shea.
I need a translator on here. So.
Mr. Saron gonna talk in Cambodian language, so I'm gonna help him translate
You
into
have to
English.
quiet down so all the speakers can be heard, please.
បាទឈ្មោះសរុនជារស់នៅទីក្រុង Lowell រដ្ឋ Massachusetts
My name is Saron Chia. I live in Lowell, Massachusetts.
លោកប្រធាន Edward Kennedy និងក្រុមប្រឹក្សាខ្ញុំបានមកទីនេះ
Mayor Edward Kennedy and the City Councils.
សូមគាំទ្រនៅអនុសារណៈយោគយល់គ្នារវាងចងសម្ព័ន្ធមិត្តរីភាពរវាងសាលាក្រុង Lowell និងរាជធានីភ្នំពេញ
I'm here to fully support the sister city relationship between Phnom Penh and the city of Lowell.
ក្នុង គោលបំណងបង្កើតទំនាក់ទំនងវិស័យវប្បធម៌
I'm sorry, please do not be too excessive on the negativity. This is a free country. He does have the right to speak and the time. Please give it to him.
Thank you.
មិញគាត់ថាខ្ញុំបកប្រែឲ្យទៅចុះគាត់ថាគាត់មានសិទ្ធិនឹងនិយាយដូច្នេះសូមបងប្អូននៅខាងលើមេត្តាស្ងាត់ស្ងៀម
ក្នុងគោលបំណងបង្កើតនូវទំនាក់ទំនងវិស័យវប្បធម៌ប្រពៃណីនិងសេដ្ឋកិច្ច
in the goals of strengthen the cultural exchange and economic between the two cities.
ខ្ញុំបាទសូមគាំទ្រលោកប្រធាននិងក្រុមប្រឹក្សានឹងទទួលយកនៅរូបបដិមាករ
I also fully support the mayors of Lowell and the city council in accepting the gift.
ព្រះបាទសម្ដេចជ័យវរ្ម័នទី
Former King of Cambodia Jayavarman VII.
ជានិមិត្តរូបនៃប្រជាជាតិរបស់ខ្ញុំ
In a symbol of our nation.
ដែលតម្រូវទុកនៅទីក្រុង Lowell.
To put in the city of Lowell.
ខ្ញុំសង្ឃឹមថាលោកនឹងមិនកែប្រែ
I hope you won't change your mind.
លោកប្រធាននិងអង្គប្រជុំជាទីគោរព
He said, Mr. Mayors, ladies and gentlemen.
ខ្ញុំសូមងាកទេមកបងប្អូនខ្ញុំទាំងអស់គ្នាទីនេះវិញ
I would like to send a few messages to our people here in this room.
យើងទាំងអស់គ្នាជាប្រជាជាតិតែមួយ
We are all come from one nation.
ភាសាតែមួយ
We all use the same language.
មកពីកន្លែងតែមួយ
We all from the same place.
ដើរលើផ្លូវតែមួយ
We walk in the same way.
ហេតុអីក៏ពួកយើងមិនរួមដំណើរជាមួយគ្នា
Why we do not unite it together?
ការមិនចោះសម្រុងគ្នានេះហើយទើបធ្វើឲ្យរវាងខ្មែរនិងខ្មែរការមិនចោះសម្រុងគ្នារវាងខ្មែរនិងខ្មែរដែលជាដើមចំធ្វើឲ្យយើងខ្លាចជាជនភៀសខ្លួនមកនៅទីនេះ
Hold it just 1 second. We have 21 speakers to go. You can all yell at each other and then nobody's going to hear anybody. It's a lot harder to get up at that microphone and speak than it is to heckle up there. So please be respectful of all the speakers for both sides and just be quiet. Thanks. Go ahead.
ការខ្វែងគំនិតនេះហើយដែលធ្វើឲ្យយើងបាត់បង់នៅឱកាសកសាងនិងអភិវឌ្ឍប្រជាជាតិ
This separation of in our community which will make us lost the opportunity of development.
ខ្ញុំសង្ឃឹមថាបងប្អូនយើងរវាងខ្មែរនិងខ្មែររួមសាមគ្គីគ្នា
I'm strongly hope that Cambodian, Khmer and Khmer will unite it together in this community.
កុំធ្វើឲ្យលោកម្ចាស់ប្រទេសពិបាកជាមួយនឹងយើង
Not to make our country leaders having difficulty with us.
កុំធ្វើឲ្យម្ចាស់ប្រទេសលោកមើលងាយយើងទាំងអស់គ្នា
Not to have our country leaders look down on us. I'm sorry, I'm not the professional interpreter. So
ហើយរូបបដិមាករនៃព្រះបាទជ័យវរ្ម័នទី7នឹងតម្កល់មកទីនេះ
The statues of Jayavarman VII will be here.
ពួកយើងទាំងអស់គ្នានៅទីនេះនឹងរងចាំទទួលនៅរូបបដិមាករ
We all here warmly welcome the statues Jayavarman VII in the city of Lowell.
មុននឹងទីបញ្ចប់សូមពូជូនពរជ័យសិរីមង្គលដល់លោកប្រធាននិងក្រុមប្រឹក្សាទាំងអស់ព្រមទាំងបងប្អូនយើងទាំងអស់គ្នានៅទីនេះជួបប្រទះតែសេចក្តីសុខនិងសេចក្តីចម្រើន
Finally, I would like to wish the mayors and the city council member and everybody in this building, in this room, for prosperity and happiness forever.
សូមលោកទទួលនៅការគោរពអានពីខ្ញុំ
Please accept my high guest consideration. Thank you.
Telly-Youth Oak. Telly-Youth Oak.
បាទបងប្អូនយើងទាំងអស់ណាបើសិនជាយើងចង់នៅនិយាយបានយូរសូមរក្សារបៀបរៀបរយណាខ្ញុំស្គាល់តែសូមជួយសម្រួលបន្តិចណាព្រោះថានេះគឺជាវិធីសាស្ត្រក្នុងការប្រើប្រាស់លទ្ធិប្រជាធិបតេយ្យតែកាលណាយើងនាំគ្នាអញ្ចឹងពេលខ្ញុំខ្លាចគេដេញណាដល់យើងមិនអាចសម្រេចកិច្ចការរបស់យើងបានម្ល៉េះសូមរក្សាការស្ងៀមស្ងាត់ហើយកាលណាគឺចប់ speaker ម្ដងយើងអាចផ្ទះដៃបានណាសូមធ្វើអញ្ចឹងด้วยណាដើម្បីយើងដំណើរការលឿនបន្តិចណាសូមអរគុណ I just want to explain to them make sure they don't interrupt the speakers and allow them to speak then they can go on thank you អរគុណច្រើន
Sophan Phin.
Did you just call Tolayut before that? The second speaker?
Telly-Youth Oak.
Oh yes, it's is me. I'm right here.
All right.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor Edward Kennedy and a member of the City Councils. My name is Tolayut Auk. I am a Cambodian American and a small business owner in Lowell, located on 209 Chelmsford Street, the Lowell Flower House. I am here to unconditionally express my support for Jayavarman 7 statues that is a gift from the Ministry of Culture and Fine Art of the Kingdom of Cambodia and a courtesy visit by the Cambodian business delegation led by Mr. Hun Manait. What does Jayavarman 7 statues mean to me? Words alone cannot express what this statue symbolizes to so many Cambodians in the Kingdom of Cambodia and all Cambodian Americans right here in the city of Lowell. Jayavarman 7 was the great Khmer king that built Great Angkor Wat. It was his king that Khmer civilization was at its greatest. Many Cambodian Americans came to the United States as the war refugees. Cambodia was ravaged by years of civil wars. The descendants of Jayavarman 7 were starving physically, emotionally, and psychologically. But 30 years later, we are 30,000 strong. We have become instrumental in revitalizing the city of Lowell. We have helped in transforming the city that one was in economic distress and decaying. Upon hearing that the Ministry of Cultures and Fine Art of the Kingdom of Cambodia was delivering the statues of Jayavarman 7 to the city of Lowell as a gift, I am overwhelmed with happiness. Happiness for our forefathers, our Cambodian American and our prosperity. We have finally overcome our struggle, civil wars, shame, that we Cambodian Americans have our pride back, and we are reminded that we once proud and influential people and civilization in Southeast Asia. Honorable mayors and the city council, in spite of effort of some people in this room who try to politicize the Jayavarman statues in their own political benefit, right here in the city of Lowell and the Kingdom of Cambodia. In fact, one of the signatories of the petition against accepting the statues is a Republican candidate for the state representative of the 18 Middlesex district. Jayavarman 7 statues is apolitical. It does not have political affiliation and affection as these few distractors are trying to make. Honorable mayors and city councils, these distractors, while they are loud and vocal, do not represent the vast majority of Cambodian Americans. These distractors are politicizing everything so as to cause disharmony within the community who is trying to move forward and rebuilding their life, business, culture, and raising their family. So that you are informed about the current Royal Cambodian government of the Kingdom of Cambodia. It's made up of democratically elected representatives from two major parties, Cambodian National Rescue Party and Cambodian People's Party, which is called CNRP and the CPP. The gift is from Royal Government of Cambodia to the people of Lowell to solidify the friendship and cultural bond between Cambodian people and the people of the Mill City. This gift is being honored by the Ministry of Culture and Fine Art at the request of the Honorable former mayors and current City Councilor Rodney Elliott. It is not a gift from CNRP or from the CPP. It does not and must not be politicized by any group or someone who is candidate of political office. Mr. Mayors, member of the City Council, please do understand that my thought to entertain petition by these vocal and politically motivated distractors would be construed as an insult to me, to significant proportion of Cambodian American, as well as to our cultures, heritage, and pride. I am descendant of Jayavarman 7. We are the descendant of Jayavarman 7. Regarding to the courtesy visit of Cambodian business delegation led by Mr. Hun Manait, the delegation comprised of 40 businesses and government officials from the Kingdom of Cambodia. They will spend a total of 3 days meeting with local Cambodian American business and staying at the local hotels. For duration of that stay, they will spend about $20,000 in hotel accommodation alone. They will spend more on meals and other entertainment while visiting. An estimated immediate positive economic impact will be around 50,000 or 60,000. The purpose of these businessmen from Cambodia is not simply sightseeing, but they are also looking for business opportunity to invest in the USA and perhaps in the city of Lowell. Like any other business around the world, they want to study business climate and meeting with local and state elected officials to collect and gather relevant information. As a result, they request for a courtesy meeting with Honorable Mayor Ed Kennedy, member of the City Council as well, and other elected officials via Royal Cambodian Embassy in the United States. Let me refresh each member of the councils that are recently, as last week, President Barack Obama made an historical visit to a communist Cuba and met with Mr. Raul Castro. After not having a diplomatic trade relation for 60 years, President Richard Nixon went to communist China's and normalized relation in February 21, 1972. And on July 11, 1995, the President Clinton normalized relation with communist Vietnam. The purpose of normalization and relation with all these communist countries are to open trade for America companies, exchange of idea, education, cultures, dialogue, as well as introduction to democracy and improve human rights. Cambodia is not a communist country. It has a free and fair election. It allows political parties to participate in election. Communist Cuba, China, Vietnam do not allow free and fair election. In January 2015, when former mayor and the current city councilor visit Cambodia, he signed a memorandum of understanding and creating a sister city relation between the two capital cities. Between capital city of Phnom Penh and the city of Lowell. In MOU, the two cities promised to cooperate, improve, and strengthen economic, cultural, and educational ties. Therefore, I absolutely believe that the courtesy visit by the Cambodian business delegation led by Mr. Hun Manet is the most opportune time for Cambodia and Lowell to actively promote in those initiatives as stated in the MOU. With improve economic, cultural, educational, and to govern exchange, investment, as well as democracy with flourish over time. Again, honorable mayors and the member of the city council, I implore with the strongest term not to entertain the petition by these political motivated distractors and rescind your invitation to meet with the delegation. To entertain these petitions would be a colossal misstep, misdirection, and a significant backward to improve economic and political relations, or otherwise between the kingdom of the kingdom and the city of Lowell. Only those dialogue can work to improve and to strengthen economic and political condition of Cambodian people in the kingdom of Cambodia. The city of Lowell also need infusion of investment to create good paying jobs for the residents. Thank you. But may I take this last opportunity in Cambodian language? 1 minute.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm okay. I don't have to say because they want me to say. I'm fine. Thank you.
Let me just... Two things. Two things. Number one, it's important that you be quiet and respectful of the other speakers, whether they agree with you or disagree with you. Otherwise, this is just going to be a big waste of time and a big shouting match. The second thing is I'd like to remind the speakers that come forward next that there is a 5-minute rule for speakers here. The past couple of speakers have gone a little bit beyond that, but I'm going to be pretty strict about the 5-minute rule going forward. Otherwise, we'll be here forever. So the next speaker.
Sophan Pen.
To the podium.
Oh, hello. I'm actually surprised to speak tonight. I wasn't sure I was confirmed to speak, but thank you, Mayor, for allowing me to speak.
In full disclosure, I am not a resident of Lowell. I used to live here, but I moved last year, but I'm here speaking on behalf of my sister and my family. I was a little surprised to see the upcoming visit scheduled, and a little shocked, to be quite honest. Reading from the news reports, it seems like it's in good intentions. He seems like he's here on a charm offensive, but for me, gestures and actions speak far louder than words. And as it's been well documented, his father